We are starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the RPG After Years, your weekly show covering all things RPGs from the past, present, and future. I'm Scott.
I'm Jay.
And we're joined today once again by the Golden Host.
It's me, Golden Bill.
Golden Bill, Jesus. This is episode 55. Today we'll be continuing our review of Final Fantasy V. Wow, that was like sort of alliterative. Which was hasted by Disa, who also used her Patreon powers to force Jay and I into playing it, which I was happy about. But yeah, it's the 1992 SNES classic, Final Fantasy V. I feel like that's the soundtrack of my my game overs, repeated game overs in the game.
That's when you know it's getting serious.
Yeah. Since it's a review, we won't be doing any catch-up or anything like that. Today, we'll be covering the remainder of the story. We covered the first world in part 1, so we'll cover everything after that today. And in part 3, which we'll record next week, we'll cover the gameplay and the final ratings. But before that, just so we don't fall behind, here are some quick show updates. First off, real quick, just want to give everybody a reminder about the RPG Club. When this episode releases, it'll actually be a couple weeks from the day of this recording. So at that point, our goal will be to complete Chapter 8 in World of Final Fantasy, and the deadline for that is March 14th. Jay, I can't remember, have you hit the checkpoint yet?
Not yet. I'm in Chapter 3. I am already having to grind.
I actually am not surprised by that because I had to try twice on the summon battle, not to spoil anything. And then the next boss battle after that, I won my first try, but it was like kind of hairy. So I don't blame you.
I'm also struggling on the summons battle. I evidently picked the one that's the hardest. And now I just want to kind of see it through, but
gotcha.
We'll see.
You'll have to
look up a guide and find out it was the easiest boss.
I already tried it.
You'll have to DM me who you. Oh wait, I think I know who you picked. Actually, I remember now. But yeah, so the next thing is we're going to cover the RPG releases, and I'll let the other boys take care of that for me.
I'm other boys. So in this past week, Neptunia Virtual Stars on the PS4 released on March 2nd in North America, March 5th in the EU. Everhood, Switch and PC, released March 4th. And then Loop Hero on the PC, March 4th. That is not a hula hoop guitar hero, I'm assuming.
I was about to say, did you look into it?
I did not. I'm going to
I
now,
assume
though.
it's a sentient knot. It's a sentient knot. saving the world. But this coming week, we've got the Kingdoms of Ulmar re-reckoning for the Switch on March 16th, and Saviors of is it Saviors?
Saviors of Sapphire Wings.
Yes, Saviors.
Yes.
It does not have a U in it. Saviors. Yeah.
I just realized, Mike.
There, I fixed it. I fixed it for you.
Thank you. I'm like the guy from Anchorman. I can only read the teleprompt exactly as it is.
Still better than Rich.
Sapphire Wings. Stranger of Sky Sword Revisited, coming out PC Switch on the March 16th in North America.
Yep.
But let's talk about Skyward Sword, shall we?
Well, we talked about that on the last episode on our
Live.
Mega News thing. You'll have to listen.
No.
But yeah, I think that's about it for the only like little housekeeping things we needed to do. So we're going to move right into the second part of our review, which, as we said, is the rest of the story. So just a brief synopsis of everything that's happened so far. We have our four main characters, Bartz, Lena, Ferris, and Galoof. Bartz is just a traveler. Galoof is an old man who we learned recently is the king of an alternate world. Just recently got his memory back. Ferris is a pirate lady who happens to be the sister of Lena, who is the princess of a kingdom. They are trying to save the crystals from being destroyed. They failed miserably, and they found out that it was all caused by X-Death, who is an evil tree wizard who is trying to use the power of the crystals to take over the world by expanding the void, which is like an all-consuming force that is just going to take the world into nothingness. Galoof reunited with his granddaughter Kryl. They got taken to the second world, which is where Galoof's home world. Left the others behind, but then they decided, well, wait, we want to actually go help. Bart, Ferris, and Lena found a way to get to the second world, and as soon as they got there, they were basically immediately abducted by X-Death's forces. And that's where we left off.
So yeah, the gang wake up on an alien world, and yeah, they're quickly, as Scott said, they are abducted by X-Death, but they're actually, it's not, there's like weird bat things turn up, don't they? And they're really hard to beat, and it doesn't matter if you actually beat them or not in the game, they still kidnap you.
Did you guys beat them?
No, I've never beaten them, but I've seen that you can beat them. And then
not sure if I did or not.
The scene actually plays out a little bit differently because the creature pretends to be dead, and then you go up and talk to it, and it comes up and knocks you out and takes you away.
That sounds right.
My guide told me what was going to happen either way, so I did not attempt.
Yeah. Do not waste MP. Die.
Just lay down and die.
I wanted to keep as many items as I could for later in the game.
Yeah, you learnt your lesson from Carnate Castle.
Yes.
But yes, the guys are all thrown into prison. Then X-Death decides to show Galoof, who's waiting outside, to storm X-Death's castle. He shows him an image of the three people in prison and says, hey, you better be careful or I'm going to kill these people if you don't step down. So Galoof agrees. And then X-Death appoints his right-hand man, Gilgamesh, to watch over the prisoners. Oh, what a mistake that's going to be.
This is where we are first introduced to Gilgamesh in the entire series.
The very first introduction. Yeah. he's a bit of a dingbat.
He's he's a secondhand villain, but like in the cartoonish, like oaf kind of villain where like you can't take him seriously. He's mostly meant for comedy relief.
Yeah, it's quite a good story arc in this game, but yeah, he's definitely there to be like.
This is definitely his biggest role in the series, and all the other Final Fantasies, he's usually like just an extra boss or like a cameo appearance kind of deal.
Doesn't he have quite a good bit of lore in 15 though? When Gladio, old sexy Gladio, goes off to do battle.
That's in the DLC, but that is probably my least favorite incarnation of Gilgamesh because he doesn't act anything like Gilgamesh. It's for all intents and purposes could have been a completely different character.
Oh, okay. I need to play that at some point. But yes, Galoof decides to use Creelay's pet Windrake. We've got another Windrake people to rescue Bartz and Co. Bartz. I'm going to say Bartz.
You can call him Bartz if you want.
I'm going to call him Bartz. It's in my nature. I like Bartz. I cannot lie. He was stopped by Gilgamesh, who is a complete wimp, and he runs away after the battle, showing his true colours. Then they reach the big bridge, which is under attack by X-Death forces, and we are introduced to probably the greatest song in Final Fantasy history.
Battle
I
of
love
that.
it.
Isn't that literally your favorite song in the series?
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I can, depending on the day, it's either Dancing Mad, One Winged Angel, or Battle on the Bridge. I just love those three songs so much.
They are all great.
But
We
yeah,
should probably
when
explain that the big bridge is like this big connecting stone bridge that goes to the center of the second world. It connects like the two western and eastern major continents.
it is literally what it says on the tin. It's like this enormous bridge. Imagine if they built a bridge across the Pacific to join America with the UK.
I wonder if that would be a good idea or not.
I think it'd be a terrible idea. Just more Americans
shatter.
coming over here. We don't want that. We don't want that.
With the plate tectonic shifting, that thing could be tore apart in 10 years.
Good point.
It needs to be a stretchy bridge. We can make it out of like latex or something.
Just a giant slinky.
Oh, that'd be great. Going up and down on the waves. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, so we're battling on the big bridge, and I love this bit of the game where you're actually trying to escape from X-Death's castle, running across the bridge. You got the great music going on. The music's continuous as the little battles happen. As little creatures jump down from the bridge and attack you, and then as you get to the middle point, you're confronted by Gilgamesh. So I think the first time you fight him, it's actually just as Galoof, isn't it? In order to rescue everyone from prison, and then the second time you've got the whole gang.
I feel like you yada-yada'd over how much of a badass Galoof was in this. He's like, stop the forces, and then he jumps on a dragon and goes and rescues them by himself. He's like, oh yeah, I'm a great fighter. I can do this. And then
Galoof is an absolute badass in this game.
Yeah, with an army at his
now
back.
that
he's got his memories back.
Yeah, and then Gilgamesh is like, I'm not ready for this.
But then he comes back saying, I am now ready, and he's got his friend Enkidu.
I think it's Enkidu.
Yeah, Enkidu, who you just beat the crap out of them again, and they run away. Again, at this point in the game, I don't really have any struggles with the battles yet. That sort of comes a little bit later.
I think most of my struggles with the battles, I mean, this is getting more into gameplay, were mostly in the first world. There came a point where like my grinding or leveling or whatever rounded the curve, and I didn't really have much trouble for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I think that happens fairly early on, really.
I'm pretty sure the majority of like harder bosses that I faced, aside from the Karnak Castle fiasco, I would usually die one or two times, and then I'd feel comfortable enough to have like a decent strategy in my head.
Gotcha.
But like Karnak Castle,
It's a hard part.
I screwed myself. Yeah.
There's no warning for Karnak Castle. It's just like you need to be stocking up because there's going to be a long time between being able to get to a shop and to heal yourself properly, with sleep. So yeah, it's a bit of a bitch, that one, with a bitch boss. Damn that fire bitch. But just as you're about to get to the end of the big bridge, escape from X-Death's clutches, he activates his barrier, which then hits Bart, Ferris, Lena, and Galoof, and they get flown off to the far north of the continent to Gonorrhea.
Glosiana.
Gonorrhea.
I have one quick little complaint before we move on. So Kryle's Windrake turns out to be like pretty important. Like it has several plot points connected to it, but it doesn't get a name like Lena's Windrake does. And I was like, well, that's kind of fucked up. Like until the Phoenix Tower part, it was almost seemed like Kryle's Windrake was more important than Hiryu. So I was like, I wonder why they didn't name that one.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even realize it didn't have a name.
No, I didn't even realize it. I think the first time I played it, I thought it was the same Windrake.
I can see that.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't until like later on that I realized, oh, this isn't the same one.
I'm gonna go with Kryle is kind of like a naturalist, so she just doesn't name her animals. So
She's
there we
all
go.
natural.
So in the lands of say it again, Scott.
Gonorrhea.
Glosiana.
Glosiana, the lands of Glosiana. So they passed the town of Regole and Kuza Castle. The 12 ultimate weapons, which we find out about are held magically sealed inside. This is where they learn about the tale of Inuo and the split worlds. Basically, Inuo was a big bad person at some point and tried to do a lot of things. And was it at this point? It was here that the world split and Inuo like ended up leaving that void behind, that special secret place.
He split the world to create the void, didn't he?
That sounds right.
I actually don't remember the details, but is this also where you learn that the Warriors of Dawn like sealed Inuo in the tree, or like the evil spirit of Inuo was sealed in a tree, and that's what created X-Death, more or less?
Yeah, I think that's right, because I think they were. This is also where like, oh, we should have freaking sealed. Like, they regret sealing X-Death in the world that they were in instead of that first world.
They should have just sealed him in like a blade of grass or something.
Yeah, they sealed him in that they sealed the evil spirits in that tree. So Inuo got sealed in that tree along with other evil spirits, I thought, and they ended up forming a sentient personality, and that became X-Death. And then the old Warriors of Light that are mostly still alive in this game sealed X-Death back in that forest in World 2, and then now...
That sounds right. I guess the specific details aren't super important. There was an evil spirit. It became X-Death.
I thought X-Death was a wizard originally who was trying to help release Innuendo.
I don't think so.
I don't think that's right.
I'm pretty sure X-Death is just straight up the tree, the evil spirits in the tree manifesting a personality.
As I've always called him, he's the evil dick tree. So
yes, he is.
Exactly.
So after they learn about this tale of Inuo and the split world, there's apparently an optional underground water cave. I don't remember this, so I'm thinking it is optional. I feel like it just went straight to the Moogle village.
I don't remember it either, even though I know I did it. That's why I think it was a side dungeon.
Yeah, that takes you to a special area, doesn't it? And I think you can fight Titan.
That sounds right. Not
If
sure.
I remember rightly, it's just like you literally go through a cave and you come out on a bit of the overworld, which is kind of blocked off from everywhere.
I did not get Titan, so I have no idea.
There you go.
I think that is just a little mini side quest, but also I think that's really like at this point in the game is really bitching hard to do.
Maybe.
I don't think I'd approach that until the end of the second world, that side quest.
I feel like it's a reoccurring theme. All these optional things are incredibly difficult whenever you can actually do them the first time. So all of that aside, we make it to the Moogle village. So we don't make it to the Moogle village. They enter a forest and they find a Moogle, and then the Moogle falls through a pit into the Moogle Canal, which is infested with Moogle-eating monsters. So they rescue the Moogle and follow it to its home in the Moogle forest. The Moogles here communicate telepathically with Krill's pet Moogle, and she quickly rushes to the Moogle forest to rescue her grandfather and her friends.
I think we should have made you say Moogle a few more times in that little section.
Moogle, 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 Moogle.
Koopa-po.
Moogle. The Moogle fell into the Moogle pit, then the Moogle, then the Moogle. How did you guys find the bit where you had to follow the Moogle's path on the overworld map? Did you clock that bit?
I think maybe you remember this, Bill, but I kind of raged at this part a little bit because I did not understand that cutscene that showed the Moogle walking across the world map to the Moogle woods or whatever was like a hint as to which path you should follow to get there. And the monsters in this area, if you don't follow the path, are kind of like big old bitches. So I died like a bunch here before I figured it out, the secret. I think maybe I didn't even figure it out until you told me. So
yeah, I think I remember you saying, I can't get to the Moogle village, I keep dying. I was like, have you followed the Moogle?
I was like, what?
The guide told me.
I was following a guide too. So actually, you know what? I don't think I was following a guide at this point. I think I was following like a checklist to make sure I didn't miss like any treasure chests because of that achievement.
100%ing.
Yeah. So I just didn't know about that at that point.
So to describe it to the people out there, the it cuts this scene where the Moogle basically moves off on the world map, and there's kind of like this like little intersecting pathways that run all the way through the trees, and there's only like one correct route which will get you through to the Moogle village. And so you see the Moogle walk that way, and you just have to follow it, and you won't get in any encounters as long as you follow it. Whereas if you don't follow it and you go into the woods, yeah, there's some big old beasties in there.
Which I learned the hard way.
It also like avoids anything that looks like a Moogle doesn't belong there.
Yes.
Well, things I wish I knew 5 months ago, or however long it was.
Anyway, so after the Moogle village, we return to Castle Bow, where Butts discovers that the Windrakes has saved him. The Windrake that saved him is now dying from its wounds. This sounds familiar.
And Castle Ball is like Galoof's kingdom, like his castle. So,
yeah, Galoof's castle. This is my castle.
The king of Ball.
I'm the king of the balls. And then so we have to heal the dragon. We have to go get some more dragon grass. Oh yeah, those dragons love their grass. And again, it only grows in Dragonvale, which is a famous iOS app which you have to play over and over again for years.
I was wondering why that name sounded familiar.
Yeah, it's a bit like Dragonvale, isn't it? But no, this is Drakenvale, not Dragonvale. But oh god, I put too much time into Dragonvale in my life. That's such wasted time. I'll never get back. Which lies past the village of Klweb.
Quilb, that's what I call it.
Klweb. And yeah, and where was I? Oh yeah, so in Klweb. The North Gate is locked, which is where they meet Kelga, who is a big wolf dude. Now, Galoof tells Kelga, I can't say it, that the other three are from the first world. And Kelga assumes that they were the ones who released X-Death, so he challenges them to a fight. Gets out of his deathbed and then does this weird move where he kind of spins round Bart so fast that Bart can't tell which vision of him is him. And then Butts ends up focusing himself using his Zen that his dad taught him, and then slashes the right version of Kelga and takes him to the ground, and actually, pretty much kills him.
It doesn't kill him, but he gets bedridden for the rest of the game, and and then gets like sick and dies. I think it's wait, no. He sacrifices himself. He doesn't get sick and die, right? I can't remember.
No. They all come back towards the end in that big scene, but we'll get to that. But yeah, it's just like it's just so funny. It's just like this is like your biggest possible ally on this planet, and you just like one slash, and that's it. You take him out of the game.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed by this because, as you guys know, I play Record Keeper all the time, and Kelger is a playable character in that game, and my Kelger is pretty powerful, and so like to play the game and see that like he's immediately benched as soon as he is introduced, more or less, is like, oh, well, he's kind of lame, actually.
Butts one hits him.
Yeah,
Butts one-shots him. And then that's the point where Kelga realizes from the way that he one-shotted him that Butts is actually the son of Dorgan.
Which was another one of the
Gorgonzola.
Warriors of Dawn.
Yes. So it turns out they're all Warriors of Dawn. And these are the children of the Warrior of Dawn.
I can't quite remember, like up to this point, like this is the first time we learn anything about Bart's, right?
Unless you go to his village and learn like about how his mom died and his father left in the first world.
I don't recall doing that.
Yeah, I don't think you have to, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's awkward. I think you can only do it once you've got the black chocobo.
That sounds right, because it's like kind of in between some mountains that you can't otherwise get to, if I remember right. Which is sad because that his hometown has its unique music, and it's like one of the best tracks in the game. But alas.
So like up to this point, if you don't go there and start getting some suspicions, I guess you're just playing as Bart's. It's like why the hell is he here? Like
he's just a dude.
He's just a dude, and he kind of sucks. And then all of a sudden he one-shots this crazy strong warrior, apparently, and you learn he's the son of some more ex-warrior of light. And you're like, okay, I guess that makes sense. Everybody else is either a warrior of light or related to a warrior of light. So, of course, he had to be, but...
At least Ferris is a pirate. Okay, so they continue... Right. They continue out of Quelb and they go to Drakenville, where they discover a monster plant, which they surmise must have been the reason for the virtual extinction of the Windrake. So yeah, in case we haven't said it already, the Windrakes are more or less dragons, but they're like there's not many of them left. They get the dragon grass and then they go back to the castle. And at this point, I guess it's your first time back at the castle because the guards don't really believe that you're Galoof. And so you have to like kind of sneak in through the sewer or the moat to enter.
Well, they've closed off the castle because of the fact Exdef's forces are coming, and they have the ability to transmogrify or something. So they've been appearing as people who'd want to get back into the castle, and they were just ordered to like, nope, keep the doors shut, even if it looks like Galoof.
That makes more sense because I'm like, wait a minute, I could have sworn we had already been to the castle with Galoof at this point. But yeah, you find out that Kryl has kind of fallen sick. It kind of insinuates, I think, that her life force is sort of connected to this Windrake a little bit, maybe. But then she tells Galoof that they need to, if they want to find out like how to defeat Exdeath, they need to seek the guidance of this sage in this world named Guido, who we will later find out is just like a big turtle.
Love Guido.
So it's kind of, if only he had like 4 mouse disciples, like rat disciples.
There you go. So they try to get the Windrake, Kryl's Windrake, to eat the dragon grass, but it refuses. But then Lena, in another moment of like self-sacrifice for these Windrakes, she shows it that it's not dangerous by taking a bite of the dragon grass herself, which is supposed to be poisonous to humans. And so that convinces the Windrake to eat the medicine. But then, of course, Lena is like in grave condition after that. But the Windrake heals her, which is good. And I actually really like this scene. And I think these scenes where Lena sacrifices herself for these Windrakes shows that like kind of endears her to the character, shows that like she is a strong character. Maybe not the brightest, but I enjoy it.
This dragon's more important than me. Fuck it.
Right. So they eventually get to Guido's Island on this Windrake. You get the Windrake as a vehicle at this point. But Exdeath like sinks the island before they can even like get to it. So that's like, well, fuck. Apparently he can sink islands.
You want to know what kind of, well, that has got to be incredibly powerful. If he can just sink an island, like I feel like he should be able to just annihilate every human if he wanted to. But also, like, sinking an island would cause massive tsunamis and, like, all kinds of issues all over the world. I was kind of expecting more of, like, hey, every coastal town and on these continents are just gone.
That's
nice.
like in Wild Arms then, when they had that big scene where apparently, like, everything's being destroyed by nature. Then it's like, then you're back in the game 2 minutes later and everything's just as it was.
No,
Yeah, you're right. It did happen.
just remember, everything always washes up at a ship graveyard or whatever.
Yep, that's right.
What a
Everything
terribly
you need
good
to remember
time.
about that game.
So they go back to Kelger, because I think he might have like some info for them, and he tells you about like the other warrior of Dawn that we haven't met yet, whose name is Ziza Matthias
Zaza.
Sergate Zaza, and who is the king of Sergate Castle, which is like another like kingdom in this world. And apparently Zaza has assembled a fleet, like a ship fleet, to attack one of the barrier towers that Exdeath has set up. Because if even just one of these towers goes down, the barrier will fall, apparently.
It seems like a bad design, really.
Yeah, really. I could see like maybe it gets a little weaker, but
Or like you take one down and then the 2 closest just connect. So you got like you lose part of it, but at least it's like it bridges what was missed.
that would make more sense. So the team like hurries to join the fleet because they want to be in on the attack.
So Zaza's fleet ends up getting attacked by Exdeath's forces, led by Gilgamesh. But they are promptly defeated. Gilgamesh attempts to pull Bartz into the sea, but Bartz is saved by the Windrake, the nameless Windrake. So Zaza and Bart's party head into the barrier tower via submarine. We get a nice little some submarine action here. I thought was interesting. I was not.
There's not a lot to say about this part, but I thought it was like a pretty like cool action moment in the game.
Yeah, it all kind of kicks off, doesn't it?
Isn't there a scene where Bart's is just like hanging off like the
rigging of the boat and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all jumping across boats. There's all enemies coming down, fighting them. There's the Winddrake's flying in, saying, "Should we just call him Drake?" Like after the singer.
Yeah, it definitely was a really cool sequence of events.
There's a couple times where they walk out on like that. I forget. I don't know the terminology, but the wooden post at the front of the boat.
Yeah,
they just walk out and stand on it, and I'm like, that's stupid.
Yeah, I feel like normal people would not be able to balance very well on that. It's essentially just like a telephone pole. So,
yeah,
and the boat's going to be rocking up and down.
To be completely honest, I was a little thrown off by the fact that they have submarine technology.
I could see that because everything else is like pretty medieval.
Yeah, submarine is like is pretty advanced. Like it's like what World War II era. Like they don't have crazy weapons and tanks, and they still have pirate ships, like wooden ships, but they have submarines. I don't know. I was a little taken aback by the fact that we could take a submarine.
Even though on the first world we got on a aeroplane, a flying ship, and went into a flying battle castle.
But it wasn't like a jet fighter. It wasn't like a helicopter.
That whole flying castle was so steampunk. Like there was all sorts of stuff going on, but no, submarine. That's it. I'm out.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So they end up getting to the tower via submarine. Zayza heads to the power room while Bartz goes to the antenna on the roof. Zayza gives them a whisper weed, also known as a walkie-talkie, which allows them to converse back and forth if you've never used a walkie-talkie. They end up reaching the antenna and defeat Atmos. I actually had some trouble with Atmos, if I remember correctly, but this was at like peak of me not wanting to play this, so I think I was just being a sore quitter. So they end up defeating Atmos, which was guarding the antenna, and then Zayza deactivates the power and ends up trapped in the power room. So the shield generator is destroyed, and Bartz and his party manage to escape, but Zayza perishes in the power room. And apparently Zayza knew that this was his final hurrah. He knew this was how it was going to end for him. So
he's not in the game for very long, but like he does come across as kind of a badass.
Yeah, I kind of feel like all of the... I guess we don't really know Bartz's dad to some extent, except he apparently abandoned his family. But all of the old Warriors of Light seem a lot cooler than the ones we have now.
Also, Atomos is like one of the recurring summons or like big boss monsters in the series that I don't know what it is about it, but I just really think it's cool. Where it's like its sole purpose is just to suck everything in.
Yeah.
So it's great in FF9.
Mm-hmm.
The
so
FF9
now,
one's my favorite.
I can't recall if I've ever seen Atmos anywhere else besides this game.
He's definitely in FF9. Queen Braun summons it on Lindblum, like in the second half of the game, and it just like sucks everybody up.
So, going back to Final Fantasy V, now that we have the submarine, we can now go and check where Guido's little island was sunk. So we use the submarine and end up finding him in like I don't know, it was like some sort of cave dealio. Guido tells them that Exdeath is searching for something in Moor Forest and gives them the Guardian branch, which allows them to enter it. Guido's a turtle, by the way.
Just a big turtle.
Just a big turtle.
And the scenes with him are usually pretty funny because he usually just insults Bartz's intelligence for half the conversation, if I remember right. But yeah, so you go to the town of Moor, and this isn't really a story, but this is like a little side quest you can do to where you can find this old man in the woods, and at this point you can choose whether to take the chicken knife, which is more powerful the more you have run away from battles, or the brave blade, which is more powerful based on how much you haven't run away. And I've heard that the chicken knife is actually more powerful if like maxed out, but I wasn't about to spend hours running away. The interesting mechanic though.
I should have went and did this because I had the philosophy that if I never ran away from any battles, I wouldn't have to struggle that hard. Like playing through this game, I think I read that somewhere on a forum. Like just defeat what you run into, you'll be good to go. You won't have to grind, which was the case. I had to do a little grinding there towards the end because I did not invest a lot of time in my jobs, but it worked out pretty well. So I'm wondering if I should have went and got this Brave Blade.
Oh, so you didn't find it?
No, I did not.
It was super. It was like, isn't it like still the best weapon even at the end of the game? Assuming you haven't ran away a bunch, Bill.
Yeah, it's one. Yeah, it's definitely one of the best weapons. It's equal to like some of the ones like the 12 weapons you can pick up towards the end.
Yeah, I'd ran away a few times at this point. And I was like, fuck, things I wish I had known yesterday about the whole running away thing.
Yeah, it's a thing on the Final Fantasy 4 job Fiesta, where a lot of people have a save just before the start of the game, like where you start the Fiesta and you get your first set of jobs. So that every year they can just be like, load that save, get your first crystal, get your first job, sort of thing. And there's also a lot of people on that who have already done the work on that save to run away enough amount of times to make the chicken knife unbelievably powerful. So then they just power through the game until they get to this bit, and then they're just unbeatable.
Right.
Just in case you get alchemists.
So they do make it to the Great Forest of Moor, and apparently Exdeath can't go in there himself because that's where he was sealed away originally or something. But Bartz is able to get in there using the Guardian Branch, and then you fight these like 4 crystals. Each one has like a different elemental weakness, and you got to like kind of suss out how to beat them. It's actually like a pretty difficult boss fight.
Oh yes. This is one of the most challenging fights in the game, especially if you're doing a Fiesta run.
It's I imagine
savage.
But you do defeat them, but then of course it was all part of Exdeath's plan. He uses the crystals and turns them on Bartz and company, because apparently like the crystals, correct me if I'm wrong, they were like basically the crystals of the second world, right? And they were all that was remaining on the seal of the void. Am I right in thinking that?
That is right. So going to destroy the crystals was a terrible idea, and they were manipulated into doing it. Did you mention how Exdeath got there? How did he get into the Tree of Moor?
I did not. Go ahead and tell us.
So at one point in this section that we've just been talking about, I think it's Credays, and it just goes, "Ow! I got a splinter."
And it was right after. When did she get it? It was right.
I think
after...
it's with Guido, isn't it? Because I think Exdeath confronts them when they go see Guido for the first time.
Yeah, it was like right before they went, like right whenever they were leaving some area. There's just a text box like, "Oh, I must have gotten a splinter."
Yes, and then like you go through a bit more of the game, and you get to this bit, and then as you destroy the crystals, the splinter comes out of Prelate, and it's Exdeath because he's an evil dick trick.
Yeah,
that would suck. So basically, because these crystals are like attacking the group, they are like basically immobilized and they can't do anything. But at that moment, Kryl arrives, but she also fails in stopping Exdeath. However,
so Kryl arrives because isn't something communicated telepathically to her? Is it the Moogle again, or the Windrake? I think something
right.
communicates with her telepathically to be like, "Hey, some shit's going down. Come and help us."
Which ended up being potentially a terrible idea.
Yes.
Because she just gets caught in this trap too. However, Galoof, through like sheer force of will, is able to like get out of this weird trap, and he like shatters one of the crystals, and you begin like you get an actual like story boss battle of just Exdeath versus Kryl, and like
Galoof.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I meant. Exdeath versus Galoof.
So good.
And so,
so another instance of Galoof just being super cool.
Yeah,
yeah. He just literally gets up, pushes back against the crystal.
He's basically Liam Neeson at this point with all of this.
Yeah,
I've got a certain set of skills.
So in this like boss battle, Exdeath just keeps throwing all these super powered spells at Galoof, reduces him to 0 HP, and then like and then some, but Galoof just will not fall.
All I have to say is like, why doesn't this work for me
Right?
in the game?
It's
I have
because
willpower.
your force of will is not strong enough, Jay. X-Death is actually successful in driving X-Death away, but unfortunately he does like end up dying afterwards, and they're all like heartbroken, over his body and everything, and he ends up giving Kryle his powers to fight with Bart's instead of him, which is really cool because basically, even though Galoof died, Kryle is exactly the same character stats and ability wise, so you don't really lose anything.
Yeah, and this is an actual death, right? It's not a Final Fantasy IV death.
Right. He never comes back.
He never comes back. This is it. He is properly dead. And I've seen streamers as well when they're doing blind runs just absolutely lose their shit at this bit.
Because he's cool. He's like the best character so far.
Yeah.
I will say.
Played this,
go ahead.
Yeah, go on. I played this game after playing Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VI, and I got to this bit, and I was just like, this death had more impact on me than Aerith. I felt more emotional about Galoof. I was like, oh no.
Well, I did not know Aerith was going to die before I played it with 7, but I'd learned Galoof was dead years ago. So I will say, knowing that Galoof was going to die, his death did still impact me a lot more than I thought it would, I guess you could say. It was like a pretty good death scene. I still think Aerith is way more powerful, but in my opinion, but it was a really good like scene, I guess you could say.
Yeah, both were a complete surprise to me, and I felt, although because I was younger, I cried when Aerith died. I didn't cry when Galoof died, but I just felt more upset because I was just like, he's like the best character in this game.
Yeah.
Whereas Aerith was just like, one of the characters.
Right.
But yes, so after all that, we get to go to the possible optional dungeon of the Gill Cave, which, don't bother.
It's really fucking hard. I spent a lot of time trying to get through this, I think.
So real quick, I'm pretty sure we gotta. I think we might have.
Did we skip some shit? Did I not leave something out?
Hold on, I'm checking.
No.
Are we in? Sorry, are we in the merged world yet?
Not quite.
Yeah, that whole bit of the splinter. That's not what that happens in the merge world.
I thought so, but I wasn't going to argue with you guys.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, you have the notes correct.
Awesome.
Because I thought it was Crelay and who got the splinter, and she doesn't turn up until until after X-Death arrives. Yeah, sorry about that.
So that does happen. I think X-Death just shows up.
Spoilers for after the break.
At the Forest of Moor. Because it's later on. It's later on. When is it exactly?
That's right. We'll get to that bit
with Guido or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that, people.
So let's retract those statements about the splinter.
Yes.
Okay.
It never happened.
It comes up later.
I won the election. It's good. So yeah, don't go to the Gill Cave. It's a shithole, and you will get battered around by silly little squirrels. It's just hell on earth, as far as I'm concerned. At this point in the game,
you can earn a lot of gil though. So
you can earn a lot of gil.
There is that.
This is kind of something that's supposed to happen in a bit. This cave's going to be somewhere else, and you'll be able to go there later on when you're a bit more leveled up. But instead, you go to X-Death Castle. So you enter X-Death's castle, and you're confronted again by Gilgamesh, who transforms into an 8-armed demon with lots of weapons. And he starts going, now I'm going to kill you with my super-duper Excalibur sword. And he actually picked up the wrong sword. He's picked up Excalibur. Hilarious.
Oh, no.
It does like 1 damage per hit. So it's just like a comedic part, basically.
Yeah. Now, in my version of the game, the actual weapon is called Excalibur. So when you pick it up after the battle, you've got Excalibur, and it's got like really good stats, and you equip it, but it only does 1 hit. 1 hit point if you hit swings of it. It's just like, damn it.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's just completely useless. So we defeat we defeat him, and then we go on, and X-Death banishes Gilgamesh to the interdimensional rift. He's pure incompetence. Which, to be honest with you, if I was XDeath, yeah, he's done the right thing.
You failed me for the last time.
Yeah.
I'd be embarrassed. It's like you grabbed the wrong sword. What? Why'd you put that one next to the other one? Put them on different. You put them on different tables, man.
I'm sorry, Gilgamesh. Your performance this quarter has been terrible. We've got to let you go into the rift. So we then attack. We then go on and attack XDeath, but before we can kill him, all the crystals shatter, and the two worlds merge into one. When two become one.
Yeah, and you actually have a proper boss battle with XDeath at this part, right?
Yeah, he's
That's
pretty
the first
hardcore,
one,
yeah.
right? First one.
Other than the Galoof story battle, I think so. I don't remember him being especially challenging though, especially compared to some of the other bosses we faced so
Yeah,
far.
compared to the 4 crystals we just did.
Yeah.
Nothing.
But yeah, so like Bill just said, at this point the two worlds merge into one, and so
This is what it's like when worlds collide.
there you go.
You ready for go?
But I think that's a good spot for us to put a pin in before we take a break. So we're gonna be right back, and then we'll cover the merged world, which is the final part of the story, when we are back.
I have to go pee.
So do
too.
I.
I'll
There for an empty straw.
I'll stay here and entertain the people until one of you gets back.
Don't wet yourself.
I'll try not
Whatever you
to.
do, don't think of running water. Don't think of waterfalls. Don't think of fluffy meadows.
Keep drinking. I was thinking Spice Girls 2 become one. I'm sorry, Bill, I threw you off there. Bill's easy to throw off. Sounds like a song Bill would like. I demand entertainment. Are you not entertained? But yeah, thanks everybody out there that joined us for tonight. I hope you are enjoying our haphazard Final Fantasy V story recap as we forget the specific order of things. The three of us finished this game over the course of like 4, 5, 6 months. I need band power, need to ban Rich. Entertain me! Thanks for hanging out tonight, Rich. Hopefully you didn't plan on ever playing Final Fantasy V, because we are spooling the absolute shit out of it tonight. Yeah, I don't actually remember exactly when Kryl gets that splinter, but Jay said it's covered up here in a minute. But yeah, so like I was saying earlier, actually I think I need to listen to that Spice Girls song you're talking about. It's not ringing a bell in my head exactly. One day, if this stream for Final Fantasy for the RPG After Years continues, and it gets big enough, we'll probably move to Streamlabs somehow, some way, and that way we can have like be right back screens, things like that. Corey, you are a mod, so I guess you can't ban another mod though. So like Corey and Rich have the same level of privileges. It was the last song at my sophomore formal. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if I have the... I better not play it. Might get a DMCA'd. So is Rich, though. Unmod him. I couldn't make you an editor. Corey is lamenting that he can't ban Rich right now.
I understand. I
How
get it.
would you not know that Spice Girls song?
I probably would if I heard it.
I need some love like I never needed love before. Wanna make love to ya, baby.
Real quick, Bill, are you sure that your input is still set to your mic? I don't know how it would have changed. Okay, I heard that. You were sounding a little more like your old quality for some reason. It's not
My old
bad,
self.
but you know.
Let's check.
Wait, it sounds better now.
Do you know what? It's because I had the iPad. So I think it was blocking the microphone.
Oh, okay.
Because I put it down to go for a piss.
Gotcha.
A polite whiz, should I say?
Well, it was sounding like that before you left too, but it does sound better now. So, okay, let me go piss. Should be less than a minute. So, you guys have fun.
Me and Jay are going to duet on a Two Become One.
I don't know the song. I'm sorry.
When two become one.
It's not death metal. I'm not allowed to know it.
I need some love like I never needed love before. Want to make love to you, baby. Okay. Everything sounds better when you death metal it up.
Pop goes punk. I've never understood those Pop Goes Punk albums. It's not punk. They're not like making punk songs. It's metal songs. I don't know. I don't get it.
I know. I saw this great thing of this there's a Japanese like death metal band for children.
Huh?
They're like dressed up like full on Teletubbies, but not like they don't look anything like the Teletubbies, but that's the best way of describing it. You know, big sort of weird outfits.
It's time to learn your ABCs.
But it's just like, yeah, they're just like proper like. The drummer is amazing. I'll have to send you. I'll have to send you some of the stuff for it. It's just great. It's
was
so
really
funny.
fast.
Yeah, Scott doesn't mess around. You know, he takes the trousers down. It just straight into the bar.
Yeah. Did you even hit the toilet? Was your aim good?
The bathroom is literally like a room away. So, okay. You guys,
that's enough about Japanese death metal children's bands.
Oh, well, I'm not sorry I missed that conversation.
You will be when I show you the video on Slack.
Oh, loud. You guys ready to get back into it?
No.
All right. Starting back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we are back, and so let's jump in to the second, or like I guess the last part of the story. There's Bill's famous song. That was very impressive, Bill.
So good. So I
for those that aren't watching the stream, Bill literally pulled out his it looked like an electric guitar and was riffing on it while that was going. So
I was pretending to riff. I can't play that thing for love nor money.
It was a very good show, though. So I am going to have to admit before we jump into here, like the first couple sections that I'm about to read, my memory is so hazy. Like the minute we hit the ant lion stuff, I'm like, okay, I remember this. But like leading up to it, I apparently hit a spot of not paying attention. So now that the worlds have merged, we need to make our way to the Library of Ancients at some point. So among other things, Sid is trapped in the airship base when the Fork Tower appears above it. I think this is just like a random cutscene that we see, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it shows you like a montage of all the ways the world is changing and also falling apart at the same time.
Yeah. So we also see X-Death transform himself into several slivers of wood and hide in the antlion cave. Was that an actual scene that we saw? Like, did we see him transform into the...
I seem to remember him making a comment about it beforehand. Or something before it actually happens. But I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, because I remember, like, later down the road when we cover it for the second time in this review, I remember being, like, totally surprised. Like, what the hell? What? I don't feel
that may just be the website I pulled this story synopsis from was in like a timeline format, so I guess it could have included things we didn't actually see. So
that makes sense.
I was gonna say, I'm sure we don't ever see him become splinters. It just kind of like happens. Just like
okay.
Well, anyway, so after the worlds merge, Bart's and the group end up near Tycoon Castle. So they enter it, and the two princesses are warmly received, of course. Bart and Krill decide to head off alone to defeat X-Death, and so they leave the castle. They decide to head to the pirate cave.
And they do this because, like, they dress Ferris all up in, like, her princess dress, and there's, like, a big ball. And I guess the two of them just get kind of frustrated. They're like, we don't have time for this, and they're princesses now, so let's go.
Yeah, I would probably do the same.
So let's just mention the fact that Butts is actually now going off to save the world with an army of princesses. They're all princesses. Like, this is something we shouldn't gloss over.
This is very true.
But this is the Playboy version of a Final Fantasy game. He keeps going to lots of castles. All we need is Fran, and we've got a whole party going on here.
I'd be down with that.
Yeah,
yes, totally. So at this point, they don't think everything's fine and dandy at this point, right? They still realize something's not right.
Yeah, I believe so.
X-Death, everything destroyed. Okay, that's what I thought. So anyway, they leave and head to the pirate cave. A new bridge has been completed leading there. They basically want to see if Boko is still hanging around. So they find him and his new female companion named Coco. They apparently married. Chocobos get married.
Hey,
they also have a family. They also have a family. So Boko went off, was like, "You go save the world. I'm gonna get hitched."
Found chicken, wow, wow.
At least he knows what he wants in life. I can respect that.
Yeah.
But Boko does leave Coco for the moment and travels with Bart and Krill. So Boko, Bart, and Krill fall into the Antlion's cave on the way north, but are rescued by Ferris, who rejoins them. So at some
Ferris
point,
is like, fuck that princess shit.
Yeah,
I hated it.
Yeah, I do like the scene though where they're all dressed in their gowns and having the big party.
Yeah.
Nice little calm before the storm. X-Death does somehow make Krill prick herself onto the slivers of wood containing himself, and so she's carried along. So like when they exit this cave, or when they exit the Antlion cave, this is when she's like, "Ow! I must have gotten a splinter."
And I'm sure everybody's like, "I'm sure that wasn't important."
Right? Like you don't. I'm sure at some point they're traveling the world like in forests and stuff. Like you get splinters. You probably stepped on some sharp stuff. Like you don't make a point of it.
I'm pretty sure it's when they're in the cave with Guido.
I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure it's in the Antlion's cave.
Yeah, I'm probably wrong.
He shows up in the cave of Guido and then he fights Guido.
Yep.
Doesn't he? Yeah. So anyway, she pricks herself on the way out. She's like, "Ow, shit, a splinter. I need some tweezers." But Bart and Co. end up, so they go and find Guido in a cave, who fills them in on the details of the merging of the worlds. However, X-Death emerges from the splinter and declares his interest in capturing the power of the void for himself. As a demonstration, he pulls Tycoon Castle into the interdimensional rift and throws Bart, Krill, Ferris, Boko, and Guido far away to a spot near the Library of Ancients. Real
quick, this might have my favorite moment in the game. Is this when like Guido attacks X-Death? Or is that...
There is like some scenes of like a turtle bashing up against X-Death. Yeah, it's like really Dragon Ball Z, but with a tortoise and X-Death.
I was going to go for Yoda in Attack of the Clones.
That would be awesome to see that.
Well, the reason it's my favorite is because it's like Guido spins into X-Death like for the first time, and it like surprises X-Death, and he just yells "Turtle!" And this is kind of funny, but like in Record Keeper, you can play co-op with other players if you so choose. And the way you communicate in this mode is through these stickers that just have like a picture and a phrase on them. And one of these stickers is of X-Death's head, and under it just says "Turtle." And I had no idea what that meant like all these years. And then I got to this point, and I was like, "Oh."
I feel like that has certainly got to be one of my favorite like phrases. Just turtle.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's good.
And so, who is it who put all the humor into this game?
You tell me. I don't remember. It's been a week.
Well, it wasn't Sakaguchi. It was the other guy.
I'm not gonna be
Katase?
quizzed. Okay.
I think it's Katase. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't take
Oh, I couldn't
quizzes
remember
on this show.
Hang on, let me go to.
So anyway, they end up near the Library of Ancients, which I'm pretty sure is where they needed to be anyway. So like, X-Death ended up doing them a favor. So in the Library of Ancients, they find that the sealed tome has been reconstituted, repaired as a whole, combined, put back together in the Library of Ancients, and it gives hints to 4 places to travel to. Each place holds a tablet, which is the key to 3 of the legendary weapons, because there's 12 of them. So Bartz takes it and travels to the nearby Great Pyramid in the desert.
Now,
And Bill, isn't it true that from here on, if you want to, you could skip all this tablet legendary weapon business and go almost straight to the end?
yeah, you have to get the first tablet, I think, which is the one in the Temple of Moor. But then after that, you can pretty much just go straight to the void at any point.
Okay.
Because,
That's so interesting to me.
Yeah, because is this the point? So this is the point where all the villages have already been sucked into the void, isn't it? There's only like a few places left.
Yeah.
My guide did not tell me I could skip all that.
It's probably for the best because like you would have missed out on like a huge like chunk of the content in this merged world if you had.
Yeah, I think this is the best bit of the game, but it's just this.
I feel like
think
I feel like this, and then like the summons hunting, like going to get Bahamut and Leviathan, which was maybe not needed at this point. I don't know, but I this is whenever I was really like, oh my god, what's this next section? Another freaking go find this thing. I think we might have skipped over some context on what like the 12 legendary weapons even are. So weren't the 12 legendary weapons used to originally defeat Inuo 1,000 years ago?
Yeah, that's right. And they're sealed in just a random castle, which has got some scientists standing outside it.
Yep.
But they can't
Makes
go in it
sense.
because there's the soul of X-Death guarding it, and he will kill you pretty quickly
Oh my
if
god.
you try and go in there early on.
I should put a note to talk about that in gameplay.
Yeah, he's a bitch. Sometimes you can kill him, and then other times he's just impossible to kill. It's just so random. But yeah, there's a bit. So yeah, you do the first bit of the Pyramid of Moor, and then there's a bit which Scott's can talk about, the Fork Tower, which has ended several of my Fiesta runs. So at that point, I'm just like, no, I'm going to the void. Excuse me. So yeah, at the Pyramid of Moor, they retrieve the tablet, and having done so, are visited by the King of Dragons, Bahamut. He basically like comes out of a big mountain, and he tells them that he will wait in the North Mountain, which again is a big thing that happens, and it's a side quest. You don't have to do it. Passing through the remains of the Forest of Moor on the way back to the Library of the Ancients, they're visited by Hiru, who, so you know, the named Windrake, not Drake.
Right.
Who drops unconscious at Lena's who drops an unconscious Lena at their feet. However, Lena is possessed by a monster from the interdimensional rift and attacks Butts.
There's a woman whose boobs are strategically covered by snakes, right?
Such a shame. Yes. And Hiru sacrifices itself to save Lena. And the monster is driven from her body and destroyed by Butts and Co. Lena then rejoins the party, but can't stop X-Death from pulling the Library of the Ancients, Waltz, Istri, the Moogle village, and Rick's, Butts' hometown, into the void.
Isn't there a part here where Bart is just like pissed and just like puts the airship into overdrive, just sailing it across the sky mindlessly?
Yeah, going like 100 miles an hour around the world.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I don't know what it is. I guess it's because they're animals, but every time these Windrakes are in trouble, I'm like, oh no! And those scenes actually have like a minor effect on me. But
it's because you've been taught to love them by so many Final Fantasies.
right.
Wait until you play Final Fantasy 2.
Oh,
You
sure.
should play Monster Hunter.
Oh, okay. Which one? World?
Any of them.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go play World. It's the exact opposite experience.
Sorry.
Oh dang.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not surprised Butts is pissed off considering his hometown just got pulled into the void.
Yeah. So at this point, you have like full control of the airship. You can go do like a shit ton of side quests if you so choose. One of the we're not going to cover each one, but like you can find the Phantom Village, which is apparently a village that has been stuck in the void for years. So you can get like
That-
all the best shops here.
Yeah, that is a must. That
Yeah.
place is great. It's just a random forest tile. You just walk on it, and then you're suddenly in this phantom village, which apparently is caught halfway between time and space in the rift. So everyone's frozen in time.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
cool. I love that place.
Me too. And then you could also do a couple quote side quests to get some more of the tablets. So you can go to the Island Shrine and the Fork Tower, which has appeared above the airship base, and you can get the ultimate white and black magics there, which are what is it Flare and
They're unholy.
yeah.
But can we talk about Omnicrescent, or should we save that for gameplay?
Yeah. Go ahead and talk about him if you want.
Because
We'll probably forget.
So he's the boss at the top of one. So when you go up the Fork Tower, basically one side is supposed to be a physical boss, and the other side is supposed to be a magical boss. So you're supposed to take your characters, your team splits into two, so you can only take two on each side of the tower. And when you get to the top, you've either got to fight, like I say, physical or magical boss. So you two warriors, two mages, and there you go. Now, when you're on a Fiesta run, you don't always have access to mages. And the wizard boss that you have to fight, Omnicrescent, if you hit him, he does a move which I think is called Reset, and it literally resets the battle to the beginning of the battle. If you do any physical damage to him, you can only hit him with magic. So I've had the last two the Fiesta runs I've done, he has been unbeatable for me. There's just been no way I've been able to kill him. Not even
Even
using the magic
having
lamp.
access to the magic jobs, I still didn't find him particularly easy. So
Yeah, he's not easy any way, shape, or form. And even if you've got the magic pot for the summons, he's still unbeatable.
Yep.
It's just a pain in the neck. I hate Omnicrescent.
So after this, you can go back.
In this game.
Yeah, omniscient. You go back to Sid. He has apparently figured out how to turn the airship into a submarine, so he does that. And after this, you can like switch between like ship, airship, and submarine. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, you're next, Billiam.
Oh yeah, I'm red. Edit that in post. So you can go to the sunken tower of Waltz going underwater in the submarine. And I have to say, although it sounds really cool that you can go underwater in a submarine, there is literally like 3 places you can go to, and 2 of them take you back to the overworld map. So
it's kind of just like going underwater in FF7, where there's like 2 places to go.
Yeah, there's fuck all to do, but there is a tower. Which has a single crystal shard in here, guarded by Go-Go, the mimic. I don't think he's called Go-Go in my version. I think that's probably an FF6 reference they've shoved in there.
I don't know, because he looks like him quite a bit. So
I'll have to check. I don't. Like I say, it's been a long time since I've got this far and been able to do these side quests.
There's actually some fan theories as to everyone wants to know the identity of Go-Go in FF6, and one of the theories is it's Go-Go from FF5, so, which would make sense.
That's a terrible fan theory.
So unimaginative.
Yeah.
Who is Gilgamesh? Who is this Gilgamesh guy? Oh, it's just Gilgamesh.
Right.
I reckon Go-Go is Al Gore. You heard it here first.
The craziest theory yet.
Excelsior. And he challenges you to a battle, but Go-Go does nothing in the battle. So by mimicking him and doing nothing, you get the shard, which teaches you the mimic class, which can be very powerful later on in the game. You can also go to the Great Sea Trench, which is just an underwater cave that contains the 3rd tablet and the Meteor spell, or Meteo. And then there's Istri Falls as well, where you can find the 4th tablet and the Leviathan summon.
Yep. And Frost in the chat mentions, don't forget to play all the pianos and ride a chocobo all the way around the world. if you're truly trying to
pianos,
do all
you
the side
can't.
quests.
Frost, I wanted Scott to get the piano tune to use as our transition for this.
It's too long. Like the shortest one's like 8 seconds. So.
I know, but it's glorious.
I know.
So I found out after the fact that whenever you go to get Leviathan, like one of the bad guys, like one of X-Death's minions appear to like take you out, and then Leviathan just like destroys him. I'm pretty sure you can just walk out, not even go fight Leviathan. You just leave.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true.
Yeah. I did not do that, but then I found out afterwards that you could just not get Leviathan.
Right. So then finally, you can go to the Phoenix Tower, which is located in the middle of a huge desert. And at the top, you'll find Hiryu, which is apparently he didn't die after all when he sacrificed himself for Lena. But he sacrifices himself again by diving off the tower, and he transforms into the summoned Phoenix. And I'm kind of like glossing over that whole scene here, but that's also one of my favorite scenes. I felt touched by Hiryu's sacrifice. I thought it was sad. And then also somewhere in here you can get Bahamut if you go and challenge him and defeat him.
So another optional summon that you can get is Sildra, our awesome little sea serpent thing from the very beginning. So again,
we thought was dead.
Yes. Well, technically is Sildra's spirit.
True.
It's a little ghosty that you get as a summon. So again, I
all
thought
the
this
animals
was
die in this
not
game.
optional. I was under the full assumption that that this was required.
Well, it's an important scene, or a cool scene anyway.
Fine, I guess it is pretty cool. I liked it. But so after you do all of that, you can go through, get all these super powerful summons, which make the game a lot easier if you have a good summoner. And finally, we will go into the interdimensional rift. So Bartz and Co. enter the interdimensional rift, where they come across Gilgamesh once again. So remember, he got banished to the void, aka the interdimensional rift, aka the rift. So they defeat him and end up earning his praise and, surprisingly, his friendship. I thought this was a little weird, but at the same time, it's like, well, he was, I don't know, kicked out of his posse.
I like the fact that he says, "Oh, I'm finally free," and then you just walk deeper into the void. Like, where are you going, man? Where are you going?
In a later battle, I can't remember exactly with whom it is, but Gilgamesh ends up coming to their aid and like sacrificing himself to kill the enemy. I thought that was pretty interesting.
That's right before the very end boss. That's actually a side thing as well, just so you can open up a save point.
The boss is Necrophobe. It's like that weird looking gray bald demon guy with the barrier things.
Now, guys, we've entered the rift, but we forgot about the pianos.
Screw the pianos.
What do you want to say about the pianos, Bill?
I love the pianos. So yeah, there are pianos that you can find in each sort of town in the world or hidden away in certain places. You get to play them, and it's so that you can unlock the final bard ability, which is great, Hero's Rhyme.
Yeah.
And also the only reason they put that into the game was because the developers didn't want to leave any bytes unused on the cartridge.
That's interesting.
They had a few bytes left over, so they were like, what can we do? Let's put in a piano minigame.
Wow. To be honest, if I was making a game and I only had a few bytes left, I would probably do the same thing. So
I don't know. I'd leave it.
Cite that.
I'd probably leave it and just be like, you never know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it.
Yeah, I'll cite that quote from Caves of Nash. That's where I got that from. But yeah, I like a little fact.
Pour one out for Gilgamesh, though.
Yep, he's a good homie.
By the way, in the fan community, a lot of people refer to him as Greg. So
Greg.
put that in your pocket.
I think that's come out in the
that.
Fiesta as well for some reason.
So also in the rift here, you can fight two insanely difficult enemies, which the guide I was following did mention them, but actually said that they like you didn't have to do them. So I was like, okay, I'm not doing them. But it's Shinru and Omega. So did you both defeat them?
I have done, but not for a long time. And
I did,
Omega
but not until after I beat the game. Like I went back to it.
Omega is a bitch though, because he's his sprite is the same as some enemies that you counter earlier on in the game. It's like that sort of weird bipedal tank thing walking around with a big laser eye. And so when you come across him in the rift, he's just walking around, but he's walking around in this like little 6-tile square.
Yeah.
To try and get round him. And it's just, I hate it. I hate the fact the developers put in a super boss that's just randomly walking around in a very small area. You have to try and sneak your way around it. And like, it takes you a couple of goes of dying before you're like, maybe I should skip this boss if you haven't got a guide. And then Shinru is even worse because he's inside a fucking treasure chest.
Yep.
And like, I don't remember monster in the boxes being a huge thing in FF5. Like, I know they're a big thing in FF4, but I don't remember it being.
They're a big thing in the Trails in the Sky games that I'm playing, and I hate them.
Oh, yes.
I like the final dungeon in Trails in the Sky. I skipped all the treasure chests because it's every single one of them would open up with incredibly powerful monsters, and I'm no.
But yeah, it's just like when you get to Shinru as well, you're so far from the last save point, and it's like a little way until you get to the next save point. And yeah, the next save point is actually covered over by a boss that you have to beat, and it's just like, you bastards! How dare you put in a super boss in the fucking chest? Which you know I'm going to open, you know I'm going to go to it.
Yeah, it's a good thing you skipped them, Jay, because you will die if you're not well prepared.
I was also like this. I was trying to get through this section with like a killer migraine too, so I was like, I do not want this. So putting all that aside, they eventually encounter Exdeath, who transforms into a giant tree, his true self. So you end up fighting the tree. Before they can officially destroy him, Exdeath is consumed by the void and transforms into Neo Exdeath, an embodiment of the void, whose only desire is to reduce everything to nothingness.
There's also a scene here where like the Warriors of Dawn's spirits show up and they they make him vulnerable, basically.
This battle was something else. Because he uses, and we'll probably talk about it more in the gameplay, he has a specific move that causes all kinds of crazy status ailments, and it sucks.
And cross, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, like you're able to know like ahead of time, like when he's going to do it, but it's still a huge pain in the butt. Anyway, they managed to defeat him, and the towns and castles that were swallowed by the void are returned to their former places. And everyone's happy.
That's really glossing over it, but there's like really not that much more to say about the ending. They think they're like going to be lost in the void for a little bit, but I can't remember what Deus Ex Machina happens to get them out.
There are some pretty good scenes of them all like they all come together and they're like all happy and stuff, and they're at the very end. It's like, but we can still hear the crystals or whatever. Like they can still hear their calling as the Warriors of Light. So they ride off, and I feel like it's a pretty good scene of everybody riding off together. I think isn't Bart's riding Boko and
and Kryle's on her Windrake, and
it goes full mode 7, doesn't it? And you've got like this cool graphics of the world sort of shaking from left to right.
It's like an 8 to 12 minute ending, but it's just like. Nothing really happens other than the journey continues and everybody celebrates.
I would say it's akin to the Wild Arms ending, but probably not as crappy. Like I feel like that Wild Arms ending was like, oh my god.
Nothing ever actually struck me as not making sense in this ending. I guess you could say.
It's like they did it. They did it. They're still the Warriors of Light. They got some stuff to do. They're gonna ride off into the sunset. Do that.
The Warriors of Dawn give them enough power to escape the rift as it's closing after killing Exdeath, and that's how they get out. One of the things I love about this ending is that there are actually 15 different endings.
I forgot about that. So, like, talk for a minute about
who is alive during the.
Yes. Yeah, so it depends on who survives the final battle of Exdeath. There is literally like if one or like multiple of your characters are dead, during the scene where everyone's, the Warriors of Dawn turn up, including other people as well, and then they go, here's, we'll lend you the last of our power so you can get out. The people who survive start to walk forward, and then if someone was dead at the end of the battle, they start to drift back and say, I can't go on, and then they just drift out of the scene. And then the whole ending sequence where it's all the good stuff, they're not there, they're just blank scenes, and then they don't show it. And then when they get to the tree at the very end, that's when they come back. They're like rebirthed by the tree in some weird way.
Oh yeah, there is a scene at the big tree in the Great Forest of Moor where they like all reunite, and it's like the gang's back together kind of deal. I forgot about that. But yeah, that's basically.
I love the fact that they just added that detail in there. Like, how
it's such
cool
like a
is
weird
that?
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to notice it particularly, but it's just such a cool little thing to add in there. It's like, yeah, he did not survive the battle with Neo X-Death. He's going to go. I mean, yeah, they FF4'd it and brought them all back at the very final moment, but it's cool that they've put in 15 different ways that all the ending stuff plays out.
It's kind of like they had the bites left over, so
yeah, so I was going to say the same thing.
They it's kind of like a little Fire Emblem touch onto it, permadeath. But my characters died so many times through this game. They continued the story just fine.
So did you guys all? I mean, obviously Bill has probably seen a few different versions, but were all your characters alive at the end of the battle, Jay?
They did. Yeah, they were barely.
Okay.
But I was I was very adamant about everybody having the highest HP bars they could.
Yeah,
it's definitely needed for Neo X-Death.
I didn't even know.
If all of them survived, then Crelay just lays some flowers down at the Master Tree as Galoof's grave, sort of thing. Whereas if someone is dead, they come back to life.
So not a bad ending overall. Not one of Final Fantasy's strongest, but we'll get to overall thoughts here in just a second. There are a couple more dungeons in the later versions of the game that you can do after you beat X-Death, but I'm not going to talk about those here just because they're more gameplay oriented. I will say you can encounter Anuo and defeat him, so that's like sort of important to the story. But other than that, that's basically it for Final Fantasy V. So I'm interested to hear sort of like y'all's overall thoughts on the story.
Who wants to go first?
Jay.
Okay, I'll go. So I went into this game kind of kicking and screaming, if we're being completely honest. I did not want to play this game. I did not want to finish this game, especially since I started it spring of last year.
Well, I think you were excited to start it. It was after you had started it, you were like, no.
It was after Karnak Castle.
So, I think we started this early summer or late spring of 2020. And I was playing it on my iPhone. And going well. I, got stuck in Karnak, got myself, I saved after defeating the fire boss, but my HP was super low. I had no items, and there's a scene where by the time you escape, you have a battle right after you escape, and I just died all the time. So I had to, I originally started to, start over from that save, from a couple saves that I had before. But then I cracked my phone, my iPhone.
Oh, yeah.
So I bought it on Steam and started completely over on Steam. I did not make the same mistakes that I did last time, and I was able to get through it. But I went into this really with already a lot of negative thoughts behind it because of my experience leading up to it. However, I found myself slow, especially after I got past the Karnak Castle and everything started becoming pretty not easy, but it wasn't difficult. I would say it's a pretty good game for me to have be mentally challenged, but still not frustrated all the time. And the story itself started to somewhat grow on me. The specific characters, I don't like Bart's, but I like Galoof and Krill, and I don't really care for Princess sisters.
Ferris.
all too much. I like
Cornwall
Ferris.
pirate.
Yeah, right. So I think the story was good. It feels very plain, I should say, which kind of is expected at this point. It feels plain now compared to what we have in our like RPG ecosystem. But I'm sure back in the 90s, this was a fantastic fantasy story instead of like a plain Jane fantasy story.
Well, imagine this in Japan before Final Fantasy VI. So if you consider like how good Final Fantasy VI is, but that hasn't existed yet, all you've got is Final Fantasy IV.
Yeah, I think so. I think the story is really good. It's a little plain for me. The characters were all pretty awesome. Galoof was super great. I felt like there were a couple of times where it was like reaching a bit too much, like okay, X-Death is a tree. Okay, so we have there's 12 weapons, but first we have to get 4 tombs and then spells and summons to go with it. Like that toward that ending stretch there was kind of like it dragged on a lot for me.
Yeah, it's weird that you have to collect 4 tombs, and then each tomb, when you take it to the sealed castle, gives you 3 weapons. It's just like, I don't know why in my head that never sat right. It's just like
it felt like a lot being sprinkled in there. But for the most part, I am happy with it. I don't think it's like mind blowing. It's certainly not the best Final Fantasy story that resonates with me, but I could see myself playing it again. Just not for a show where I'm time limited.
Right.
yeah, I love this game, and I think the story is one of the weakest parts of the game. But I feel like that's mainly just because of the first third of the game, which is basically Crystal, watching crystals explode.
I feel like the first
miserably.
third of the game was the strongest. The strongest portion, because it was like simple, but there were still mysteries. So you still like you had to uncover some mysteries, and that was part of what like kept me like interested. So by the time you get towards like the merged world, like there are no mysteries anymore. Like you know what's going on. You just gotta go collect a bunch of crap. It's like, well, like there's not much driving me. Yeah, evidently.
Yeah, but no, that's what I like though. I like the whole thing about just before the Second World, all throughout the Second World, where everything's unraveling. You're finally finding out about stuff. Kind of X-Death starts to make a lot more sense as a character and as a villain, and I love him as a villain. People always say about how he's kind of one of the weakest villains in the series, but he's no different from Kefka. He's just an evil bastard who wants to destroy shit.
Because I think he's a bunch of evil bastards.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I really like it. I love the way the characters build. I love Sid. I love Mid. You know, they make really good side characters to the game. Ferris is great when she's not a pirate. I just think the best thing about this one is the characterizations. So I think Katase did a very good job with the humor in this game and making the characters feel warm and people that you kind of love. And then I think that's what gives Galoof's sacrifice such an impact in the game. And like I say, it's great fun. If you want to just type in FF5 blind into Twitch and watch people play the game blind, just wait till they get to the Galoof bit. It's brilliant. I saw Unaleska cry live on stream. It's fantastic.
I feel like one issue that I have with the game is that I feel like we are introduced to a lot of side characters for like 5 minutes, and then they're no longer relevant. And for me, that's like it's kind of annoying for me. It's like, well, I don't give a crap. You're gonna get one-shotted by Bart's and then be nothing. You're gonna go sacrifice yourself in a power room 5 minutes after I met you. You're nothing. You know, it's like you're a werewolf that's gonna sacrifice yourself in a fiery pit of explosions. I don't care about you.
For me, I guess I would say like the thing. Obviously, I don't think it's a strong Final Fantasy story. If you compare it to like Final Fantasy IV, I would think that Final Fantasy IV has like a grander scale to its story, but also I think Final Fantasy IV's story commits a bunch of like cardinal sins as far as like cliches go, that I think that they're comparable. The thing I like about Final Fantasy V's story is it never feels like it rarely feels like it's taking itself too seriously. It's almost like a Saturday morning cartoon version of Final Fantasy. I won't say it was often laugh out loud funny, but I did appreciate just like the lighthearted, like almost comedic feeling throughout the game. But yeah, it served the game well, but obviously the real star of Final Fantasy V is its gameplay, which we'll talk about next week, I think.
It's a strange one, isn't it? Because you kind of don't feel like you can praise the story because you feel like it's fairly basic, but at the same time, you just enjoyed it as it went along.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy it for sure. I'm not sure I'm going to give it like a 10 out of 10 or anything when we get there, but
So I feel like this is I feel like Wild Arms could have been this good. I think I kind of feel like Final Fantasy V and Wild Arms both had they were kind of going for the same thing, like the same. Yeah, I would say they were kind of going for the same thing. At least that's how it felt for me. But Final Fantasy V did it so much better. And I think partially it's because Wild Arms kind of like tried too much, took itself a little too seriously, and then crashed.
I was just say Wild Arms took itself too seriously, and they also introduced a lot of concepts that weren't well explained necessarily. Whereas Final Fantasy V is fairly straightforward 95% of the time. So.
Yeah. Now we do have a question in Discord chat from Frost. How do you feel about X-Def's name as a villain name?
It sounds like a 5-year-old sat down and was like, I have came up with the coolest villain name ever.
X-Def.
Actually, Frost has just put in the chat Taser Face.
Taser Face.
I also think this is a god awful villain name. X-Def. You almost kind of
extra defy.
A more villain name. Like it's such a cliche. Is X-Def like technically what it is in Japanese too?
I think so. Because that's what they called him in the fan translation, and they tried to really stick to like the Japanese naming conventions. So it's just like, yeah, he's just extra defy.
Well, it's X as in X as I read it as like not death, like X death. Like no.
X-Def.
Every time I say it, I'm like, no, X death, get that out of here.
He was deaf, but now he's the X-Def.
Yeah,
Someone
like
else has got the job of death now.
Yeah. You're an ex-employee.
In the original translations, wasn't it like literally the letter X dash death?
Oh, yeah, that probably sounds about right. Before the good translation.
Yeah, which was even worse somehow.
In Japanese, it looks like it's roughly pronounced ikusu desu.
Oh, well, that sounds about right.
Is that like Tsukida name?
As far as least favorite characters, you guys kind of already touched on that, and I think I did too. But like, I liked all of the main cast more or less. There wasn't a character that really stood out to me as like bad. I liked Bart's because he was kind of just like this bro, like everyman character. I admired Lena's like willpower. Ferris was interesting just because of her like personal dilemma with the being a princess and a pirate. Galoof was awesome, and Kryle really showed like a lot of strength too in a lot of her scenes. So I liked all the main characters more or less. I won't say any of them are my favorites or anything in the series, but
SNES princesses.
As far as the least favorite scenes, I liked the anything with the Windrakes, like I already talked about, and the turtle yell might be my favorite moment in the game.
I kind of really dislike King Tycoon.
Yeah, I didn't like Ting. I'm the same. I don't like him for some reason. He really
I was
bugs
kind of
me.
like, he's not that great of a character. Like you see him at the very beginning of the game, and you think it's gonna be like you think that that's him. Like he's the guy. Like this guy fucks, you know. But no, he ends up playing like a semi-minor role.
Well, almost every time you encounter him until his death, after the prologue or whatever, he's almost like an antagonistic character, like a sub-villain or something. So
Yeah, he's almost like a sort of an after image that X-Def is portraying, isn't it? To sort of try and lure the gang into the wrong situations.
Like,
right.
I feel like that beginning scene would have been better with Galoof. Like not memory lost Galoof. Like, I feel like it would have been better.
Showing him choosing to leave the second world or whatever.
Yeah, because then we would have had like some, like at least little hints that because otherwise you go through the entire game just thinking of some old man with memory loss, like you don't know much about him, and I think that ends up hurting how you feel about him up until he regains his memory.
I can see that, yeah, because until then he's just like a comedic old man character.
Yeah.
Anything else we want to say about the story? Obviously, we'll have another chance to talk about it when we do the ratings, but
Bart's sprite does not equal his Amano portrait. None of their sprites equal their Amano portraits.
Nope.
Wait until you see a flashback of him in the movie.
I hate the Amano portraits. I don't like his art style. I'm just gonna say it. I don't like it.
In the movie flashback, he looks like Conan the Barbarian.
Just ripped beyond all belief.
I think I've seen a picture of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
I really do think we should go and sometime after we finish this review, watch the movie and do a one shot on it.
I sent you my VHS tapes, Jake. Did I get through customs?
No.
Oh, okay. We'll check that.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess we'll go ahead and move on to our outro. And that's going to be it for part 2 of our Final Fantasy V review. Jay, tell the people what we're doing next week.
The next stuff. So Final Fantasy V review part 3. We're going to cover the gameplay, and then we're going to throw a final score on this lovely game.
I'm interested to see where it's going to end up. But yeah, and that'll be the final part of the review, obviously.
Spoilers, I'm giving it all 10s.
You would.
Don't mess up. Don't mess up our rating system with your biases. Your biases.
One more reminder, RPG Club, if you're playing with us, we're playing World of Final Fantasy. Try to complete Chapter 8 by March 14th. And going into our plugs, if you want to help out the show, a great way to do so would be to go onto whatever podcatcher app you use and leave us a review. Those reviews help the show grow, help get some more eyes on it, and we really appreciate them. And we'll read it on the show, too, unless you just blast us. We'll probably read those on the show, too. So,
Yes, another great way that you can support the show is through Patreon. So if you're a patron, there's a whole bunch of different tiers, but you can get early episode access, ad-free episodes, extra like bonus episodes like the Aftercast, which is just like where we get together and talk about random topics that like loosely relate to video games. Sometimes we go politics, sometimes we go lawsuits, whatever's happening at the time. There's also a bunch of extra reviews that's mainly Scott finishing like his 700 games that he's playing all at once.
no lies detected.
And then you are also able to get access to RPG Club nominations and voting and more. So check that out, patreon.com/RPG After Years.
We're doing an Aftercast this weekend on the controversy surrounding Warner Brothers patenting the the Nemesis system from their Shadow of Mordor game, and all the things that could lead to. So look out for that.
So you can also catch us on Twitch. We are streaming right now, and we normally stream every Sunday, usually at 9 a.m. Eastern. But that's actually changing, isn't it, guys?
Yeah,
To Tuesday about nowish.
Yep, not until like after March, but we are going to be changing to Tuesday before too long. But just to keep an eye on our socials and all that to get an idea of our current schedule. We're sticking with the norm for the moment.
And you can find us at Twitch/RPG After Years.
Another way you can support us, dramatic pause, is at Redbubble. So redbubble.com/people/RPG After Years/explore, or you can just search RPG After Years. So there's some shirts and some coasters and all kinds of random things with our logo and art done by the wonderful, who did it again?
Mrs. Dizzy.
Okay, that's who I wanted to say it, Mrs. Dizzy, but I was afraid I was going to get it wrong.
Better to be correct than say it and be wrong.
Yes.
Another way,
we don't give out plugs for free here.
Right. Another way to get in touch with us, if you so choose, you can do that via email. We are at rpgafteryears@gmail.com.
And we have a absolutely airship crazy bonkers Discord going on. I love our Discord.
Is airship an adjective?
I don't know. I completely lost track of where I was going with that one. But it's just great. You could just
it's an airship. It's a ship. It's a submarine.
Our Discord has got everything going on, and I just love it. It's such a great place to go talk to people about RPGs, and we've got a really good thriving community going on there at the moment. And you can win tacos and you can get crabs.
It's embedded with special metal that'll let it fly over mountains.
Yes, adamantine. Yes. But you can get free tacos and you can catch crabs. So come join our Discord. There's a link in the show notes below.
You guys aren't allowed to do plugs anymore. Another way you can reach the show, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can find the show at RPG Years. And if you want to follow me, I'm at The Scott Spot.
I am at JAYD Hizzle.
I'm at Metanica, METUNNICA.
Okay, that's going to be it for episode 55. Join us next week as we finish this review for episode 56, obviously. Until then, I'm Scott.
I'm not letting you do the outro again, Scott. I'm Jay.
Fair.
And I think I was Bill.
He is Bill.
You're rich?
Later, everybody.
I'm my reins.
Was that